Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on my face. I know there are many faces you could have clicked on. So, since my channel is the Urban Reader, I thought today I could give you some urban fantasy recs. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that would have been a very short video. So, I thought we could pad out the runtime by also talking about my critiques with the romance genre at large, specifically MLM, but these critiques also apply to general romance. See, I'm not leaving you straights out. I thought I'd go into my top 3 critiques of the romance genre and then explain how urban fantasy doesn't fall into the same traps as romance, or how they do these tropes, because that's what they are in a sense. My critiques, they're mainly my problems with these tropes that I constantly see in romance. So, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? So, my first gripe with the romance genre is a specific trope that I know I'm not the only one who hates. Now, don't get me wrong, I am under no impression that I am unique in disliking these tropes particular. But until romance authors stop regurgitating these tired tropes and stop doing these tropes dirty, I won't shut up about it. The first trope, insta-love. The most hated trope, I feel like, on the internet, for good reason. It is boring, it is lazy, it's unrealistic. It's just bad in every conceivable way. What I think contributes to insta-love is the fact that in a contemporary romance novel specifically, the two leads, the MMC and his love interest, will typically fall in love by the end of the book. And I understand that. That is the point of a romance novel. You would be upset if these characters weren't head over heels for each other by the end of the book. But part of the problem with the execution of their love story, in my opinion, is the timeline of events that occur within the book. Most of these books take place in a couple of months at most. And by the end of that time, they're already laying down their lives for each other. They're already declaring their love. But to me, it doesn't feel real. Like, how is John your whole world and only reason for living when you met him 2 months ago and don't even know his middle name, or if he likes sweet potato or pumpkin pie? And yes, there is a correct answer. It's sweet potato. When the characters' feelings come on hard and fast, it really takes me out of the story, and I can't take them seriously, especially when they're 29, God forbid, mid to late 30s, but they're acting like love-struck teenagers. Mm-mm. It comes off very codependent and immature. I don't take their love seriously as they so evidently do. Like, at some point, I'm like, bruh, chill. Like, you met them a month ago. You'll be fine, okay? You survived before them, you'll survive after them. It's not that deep. You know what it gives? It gives your one friend who fell in love for the 7th time that year and swears up and down that this man is the love of their life and they're like no other man they've ever met before. Yet when you meet them, it's just another finance bro. And you're like, Really? This guy? Okay. Was that funny? Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this problem of insta-love only happens in adult romances. Young adult romances, it's not really a problem. And it's because you are experiencing everything for the first time as a teenager. So it makes sense why you think it's love when the cute guy in your third period history class asks for a piece of gum twice and just so happen to remember your name. This is totally not based on my true life events. You also don't have the life experience to fall back on when you come across complex situations in your relationship. So when you overhear the love of your life talking to his best friend about how he only approached you to get help studying for the SATs, it's understandable that you freak out and storm off, assuming the worst, instead of, I don't know, talking to him to find out that you only overheard the first bit of the conversation and it's actually completely understandable what he said. All of that is understandable if you're reading a young adult romance, because you're reading about teenagers, so it comes with the territory. And it doesn't take you out of the story. Well, at least it doesn't take me out of the story. But when I'm reading an adult romance, I want to read about adults. I want to read about people who have a little bit of relationship experience, a little bit of life experience, whose frontal lobe is fully developed. And when certain situations like miscommunication arise, you can go, this guy I've been dating for, I don't know, 3 months, like, he said that it started off as a bet, but that doesn't mean he didn't develop real feelings for me. I'm really confused. Maybe instead of blowing a gasket, I can, I don't know, talk to him? Would that be crazy? But instead, what happens so often in these adult romances is that these authors fall back on these lazy miscommunication tropes and they write their adult characters like they're 16, and it doesn't quite make sense to me. Wow, I guess I went on a little tangent there. I guess you got a little bonus critique. So that's insta-love covered. Now, before we move on to the next trope, I just want to go on record and say that these are just my personal issues and critiques with the romance genre. And just because I don't like these tropes doesn't mean you can't. If you fully enjoy them and you think these are the tropes that make romance worth reading, I hope you enjoy it. I really do. Personally, I would not touch these tropes with a 10-foot pole, but that's just me. Like, no tea, no shade. Maybe a little shade. But you don't know me, so it's fine. Enjoy what you want. I'm sure there are tropes out there that I love that you can't stand. Okay? That's what makes reading fun, the discussions we have around it. Side note, I know many creators on YouTube have expressed their disdain for having to put 1,000 disclaimers in their videos. And I agree. I don't think you should have to put like multiple disclaimers, maybe like one or two. But personally, I don't see a problem with it. Because how I see it is like, you don't know me, I don't know you, so you don't know my views on anything. So, as clear as I can make my opinions, I think is for the better. You know, I don't want any wires to get crossed. I don't want you to misunderstand me. So if I need to put a disclaimer in a video so you won't go off in my comments, I think that's valid. I think that's okay. That's just me. So the next trope in romance that I quite frankly can't stand is a possessive love interest. I know what these authors want to do. They want their love interest to come off very manly, very macho, and a little jealousy can be hot. So I've heard. I don't like it, but I also have my own baggage with overbearing men, so that colors a lot of my perspective on this particular trope. Now, I understand that it is perfectly okay and normal to be jealous of the person you like talking to someone else, but I think it's how you handle it that is the real issue. And how these authors choose to portray jealousy in their books is where I have a problem. Because instead of these love interests, like, confessing to our main character faster because like, oh my god, this person is a hot commodity. I need to jump on it. I need to let them know how I feel before someone else beats me to it. Instead of doing that, a lot of the time they'll either act passive aggressive or just straight up aggressive towards the perceived threats to their love. And I'm like, you couldn't just, I don't know, talk to the dude and be like, hey, I noticed that this other dude was talking to you. I just wanted you to know how I feel before you make any decisions. And whatever decision you make, I'll respect. And that's fine. But no, they'd rather act like a complete man child rather than talk about their feelings. And we're supposed to find this sexy, but I don't. I find it off-putting and weird. Like, why are you threatening Bob from accounting because he asked me out on a date? Like, you could have just asked me out and I could decide who I want to go with, but or you could be super passive aggressive. Point is, I don't think that jealousy in small quantities is wrong. I think it can help move the story along and it can prime up the love interest to talk about their feelings in a healthy and realistic way. But a lot of the romances that I've read, contemporary wise, they don't do that. They don't take the opportunity to have their characters really delve into their feelings in a healthy and constructive way. They choose the most dramatic option, and I understand why. It's for the drama. It's exciting, but to me, it's not. I get really turned off. Now, I feel like the flip side of jealousy is protectiveness. And that's what I mess with more. I feel like the two emotions are very similar, but I don't think you can really portray your love interest being protective in a contemporary romance because it's gonna be hard to have your fluffy, fun office place romance when there's a scene like halfway through the book of the main character almost getting essayed and having the love interest come in to be the knight in shining armor. It can work, but in an inexperienced author's hands, it can shift the tone dramatically and take you out of the story a little bit. So I understand why the character, the love interest being protective is not portrayed as much as the much easier emotion to portray, which is jealousy. My last major gripe with romance is one I touched on in a previous video. I call it "You're My Whole World." Uh, I absolutely hate when our two leads have no other important relationships in the story other than each other. Now, I understand that their relationship is what we're focusing on, but in order for me to care about them getting together, I first have to care about them as people. And if they don't interact with anyone else in the story in a meaningful way the whole time, I'm just thinking what big red flags they are. That doesn't do it for me. It does not make me want to spend the rest of my life with this person because it tells me that they're only going to have me and they're going to depend on me for everything. And maybe I'm not as big of a hopeless romantic as I thought, but I don't think you can be everything to everyone. That is eventually going to take a toll on that person. And it's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. You deserve to have other important relationships outside of romance. I think that's healthy. So I don't like it when characters in romance don't have any meaningful connections and relationships outside of our love interest. I think authors know this, so that's why you'll get these best friends and these side characters who are meant to convey that oh, this person has other people, this person has friends, but I don't know, but a lot of these characters come off very two-dimensional. They don't feel real. They really only feel like they're there to be a sounding board for our main male character to bounce off problems that have to do with the love interest. They're only there to convince our main character to give the love interest another shot or to talk some sense into them. Just like with the Bechdel test, I think many side characters and the story at large would benefit from these two friends talking about anyone or anything outside of the main romance plotline. It really fleshes their friendship out and it makes it feel organic. And it makes this friend feel like they're there for other things than to move the romance along. Did that make sense? Also, I might be a little bit of a pessimist, but I also like to think about what if these characters do break up in the future or experience problems in the relationship. I want to know that the MMC has friends who are looking out for their best interest and not the best interest of the romance. Because when your friend is a bigger cheerleader and a ride or die for the boyfriend, that is a little weird. Also, you can't feel comfortable going to that friend for problems because you know that they're just going to convince you or try to convince you to get back with this man that they just love and adore. That we've talked about some of the tropes that I dislike in romance, specifically contemporary romance, I want to tell you how urban fantasy remedies them or does them in a way where they are tolerable or even likable. In this genre, books will follow a couple for multiple books in that series. So the timeline of the relationship is spread out, and each milestone will be focused on in a particular book, making their relationship feel ultra realistic and like they have a really healthy and solid foundation. Like they didn't just fall in love after a really good bang session at a work retreat. I don't know why I'm harping on office romances so much. I don't even read them. Sorry, office romance is catching strays. Even if an urban fantasy doesn't take advantage of having focus on one couple throughout multiple books, they do have the other advantage of the insta love not happening in a vacuum. It's happening alongside some crazy plot shenanigans that are throwing our characters into very high risk, high stake situations. So these characters can what? Trauma bond with each other. That also makes their instant feelings of love and gratification and everything else that comes along with that way more realistic. Because, sure, you both just took down a god. I would think that would bond you a little closer than if you met in a coffee shop. You know what I mean? Let's talk about possessiveness. The love interest not being human. This works a lot in their favor when it comes to the possessive, jealous trope. Because when, let's say, a werewolf gets possessive, it's part of their animalistic charm, if you will. It's expected for them to mark their territory, so to speak. Uh, Even in this case, though, I will admit it's still not my favorite trope. Uh, I I have my own baggage with overbearing men being possessive. So, like I said, it really does color my view of this trope. So I'm not able to appreciate it um, as how it was intended to be. And I do think there is value in the jealousy trope. I do think that. I just, for whatever reason, I don't get it. It just doesn't click for me. Luckily, though, we are dealing with genre fiction. So urban fantasies can have really insane plot lines. And because of this, they can put their main characters through a lot more turmoil than a typical contemporary romance can. This means that the love interest has ample opportunities to be protective over the main character. And often in these instances, like the emotions that the characters are feeling are very heightened, and it can be so cathartic to watch your love interest get stabbed for you, which is very twisted. In a way, I'm realizing that as I'm saying this, but it can be a physical example of the love that they have for you, that they would take a mortal wound for you. That's amazing and that's so sweet. Um, so I love urban fantasy for that. I love that you get to experience the love interest, not just say, I would burn the world for you, but you can show them literally dying for you. And then coming back to life because this is a romance and this is fantasy. uh, But yeah, I think that is way more romantic than your boyfriend getting jealous that you were talking to your ex. That's just me. Now, the last trope of "you're my whole world," I'm honestly unsure why, but this trope is not really a problem in the urban fantasy books that I pick up. Maybe it's because they all seem to be into strong world building, but they tend to have a robust cast of side characters that have very distinct relationships with our main character. So these characters often feel like whole characters. So you don't really get that problem of the side characters only existing to propel the romance further. I'm grateful for this because it makes me think that the main character has other people in his life that he can lean on when times get hard. And it makes me think, even if for whatever reason, things don't work out with him and his love interest, he'll be okay because he has a good support system. I think that speaks to me and what I've been through in the past, where I now know how important it is to have a really good community and support system surrounding you to help you through hard times. Because, like I said, it's unfair to want your romantic partner to be everything for you, because that's a lot to put on someone. And sometimes they'll need help caring for you. And when those times occur, you're gonna want a robust, solid support system surrounding you. Do you know what I mean? Um, I hope all of you have a great support system that you can lean on to when times get hard, because it really is important, especially now with our government trying to take our rights away, succeeding in taking our rights away. You need a community to lean on. I think one of the reasons why I value having a strong cast of side characters for our main character is because in real life, I value having a good support system surrounding you. I think it's very beneficial for everyone to have community and to have people they can lean on when times get tough and to know that they are not alone. It makes the battles we have to fight feel winnable. It makes the weights we carry feel lighter. It is just super important. And I hope all of you have that community or will find that community in time. But if you can't tell, I really like when the characters and the relationships specifically feel realistic, because I have not always had these types of relationship in my real life. So when I read it on the page, it heals something within me. Um, I know I'm treating books like therapy. I know they're not therapy. Therapy is therapy. Go to therapy. Everyone, go to therapy. Uh, but it does help. It does help. Hello, it's me from the future. So I was editing this video when I saw that the later half, where I actually get to my recommendations, was not up to par with the quality that I want to give y'all. And basically, I got really tired and hungry, and my energy was very low. And y'all don't deserve that. So I decided to split this topic into two parts. The first video being this one, where I go into my gripes with the romance genre and the tropes I don't like and how urban fantasy corrects them. Part two will be me actually giving you my urban fantasy recommendations. Thank you for clicking on my face, as always. And I hope you did enjoy the first part to this topic. Let me know if you have similar gripes with the MLM romance genre, or different gripes, or if you think I am completely bonkers and all the tropes that I mentioned that I hated, you love. And please give me your 300 word dissertation on why I am wrong. I look forward to reading any comments that I get. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Okay? Goodbye. Mwah, mwah, mwah.